Welcome class to your second video for Alien Invasion. We're going to cover pages 238 through 246 in this section. This section is the movement or the piloting of the ship. So we'll begin on page 238. But before we begin, I want you to show you the functionality of what will happen after page 246. So we're going to be able to take the ship, hold down the right or the left arrow key. You can do one at a time by hitting the arrow key multiple times, or you can just hold down. And so the ship should stop at the border of our screen as well. So that's the functionality that we're going for in Alien Invasion pages 238 through 246. So on page 238, we are going to first modify the check events function by adding another elif. Okay, so let me go ahead and do this again. When I hit enter in my code, it drops down to the next line thinking we're adding another statement to this if statement. So you need to be very careful and be very aware of what the indentation is. In this case, we need to go back a tab and enter an elif so that it lines up with the if previous to that and type in our code. Make sure you're typing the double equal signs to do comparison. Make sure you're doing the uppercase when it's noted for uppercase. Make sure you're using your colons at the end of each line. So with that coded, what we are seeing here is we can go ahead and quit the game, or if we listen for a key down event such as our right arrow key, we're going to shift the ship one pixel at a time across the screen. So following that block of code, there's a couple paragraphs and it explains just what I went over. And in the second paragraph it says, when you run alieninvasion.py now, the ship should move to the right one pixel every time you press the right arrow key. So as you're reading through the content, explaining the code, you want to look for sections that say that when you run. And there's multiple testing sections in this these pages. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And now my right arrow key is moving very slowly, one pixel at a time. I can't hold it down at this point, but I can just keep clicking, keep entering that right arrow key. Okay, allowing continuous movement is the next section, and this is where we come to our ship.py file. And in here we're going to create a new function as well as a new attribute. So init function is going to have a new attribute called moving_right. So the previous line that you see to that is self.rect.midBottom. So I'm going to enter down a couple times and enter in my movement flag. Okay, so this flag is set to false initially, that we're not allowed to move, and then through some testing we'll set this attribute to be true when we're allowed to move to the right. Okay, so in the next section here we have where we're creating a new function, so we need to line our functions up so they're always just one indent from the left margin. So update, provide our docstring, if, and now we're referring to that attribute we just created, if this is true. So when we don't specify equal to something, it always looks for true. Okay, so the Boolean value. In that case, we're going to move our ship one pixel to the right. Okay, so in the next section it talks about adding this flag moving right in Alien Invasion, because we already have this in our ship.py file. So back to Alien Invasion, we look for key down, k_right, and here we want to change this because this is now part of this file. So self.rect.x, okay, and the reason ship is here is because we have to jump to the ship file to find it. So just a little different because it's in ship, you don't have to put ship there. So we'll remove this. You can keep the comment if you want. If you want to stay consistent with the book, you can just type in self.ship.moving_right is equal to true. Then we back up an outdent, actually two of them, and we create another elif pygame key up. So when we let go of the arrow key, now we're going to listen for the event on k_right. Okay, so if we have a lift of our finger off the right arrow key, we're going to set self ship moving right to be false. Okay, so we come in and we listen on check events. We listen to see, are they going to quit the game? Have they done a key down on the keyboard? Is that key a right arrow key? If it is, we're going to set this to true. If it's a key up and it's on the right arrow key, we're going to set that flag to false. Next statement in Alien Invasion goes into the run game function. So where this blank line is, we say self.ship.update. Okay, so inside the ship file, we have an update function that we're going to run. So we're going to run this code. Okay, so let's go ahead and save both of these files and then run. Oh, I got an invalid syntax. Oh, I've got and this is in ship.py, an extra period. Save that, rebuild. And now I should be able to hold down my mouse, and now watch, it's going to go off the screen because we haven't coded it not to go off the screen. So in these first couple blocks here, we've done two tests. We have made sure that when we enter in our code that it's lining up correctly. So this if lines with this elif, and that our indentation needs to be exactly the way it should be. Again, reminder, just functions, they're one indent from the left. Okay. Then we further go into ship.py and we add in some more code into update and into Alien Invasion. Just make sure that you read through the content, the actual paragraphs explaining the code, and then again look for the word when you run alieninvasion.py. That is your signal that you need to go ahead and test at that point, and not before, and only at that point. Now, I did send out an email with regards to maybe a little bit confusion on whether code on a particular line of code that looks like it's removed, but it should not be removed. So this is in the ship.py file, and it's in the init function. You want to make sure that this line stays. So on page 242 it looks like it's missing, but it needs to be there. So make sure you code that line. So with that said, the rest of the section, pages 238 through 246, the way the code looks is the way that it should be. So if we jump into ship.py, for example, on page 240, okay, and there's update. So this one's pretty, we have a moving left, that one's pretty self-explanatory. And then on page 241, it says we're doing a K left. I think that's all pretty straightforward. It's when it gets to page 244, bottom of page 243 and onto 244, exactly how the code reads there is exactly how yours should look when you're done. So if that means cutting and pasting code somewhere else or deleting a line, you want to be there. Another thing too, with the full screen option on page 245, I alluded to this in the email that I sent out that's also posted in your announcement section. It says on page 245, leave current screen code. Okay, so don't delete these 2 lines. Okay, and then add those 3 lines that you see on page 245, which are the ones I have commented out here. This full screen does not work well for me on my laptop, and it might work well for a different display. So just make sure you leave these 2 lines and then comment out which one doesn't work for you or not work for you. But if full screen works for you, then comment these 2 lines out. If it doesn't work for you, then comment out the full screen code. Okay, so remember, we should be able to shift over to the right, shift over to the left, and not have our ship fall off the screen. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.